Hi, I am Prasad. I'm an advocate practicing in Hyderabad. Today I am going to share with you about an important judgment of Honorable Supreme Court pertaining to the accident compensation. Applying the principles of Motor Vehicles Accident Law rendered by the Honorable Supreme Court on 3rd March 2020 between Triveni versus AirIndia. The brief facts of the case are like this. The complainant's husband, who was an employee of a company in Dubai, was drawing around 5 lakhs per month in 2010. He climbed a flight in Dubai, which was destined to Mangalore. The flight crashed in Mangalore due to faulty landing, and he died in the accident. The wife filed a complaint before the National Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission, NCDRC, which I will address it as National Consumer Court. But prior to filing complaint before the National Consumer Court, Air India already granted a compensation of around 4 crores. The complainant, who is having 2 children, is not satisfied with the compensation awarded by the Air India, and therefore she filed a case before the National Consumer Court claiming 13 crores, 13. National Consumer Commission passed an award allowing the application of the complaint against the Air India and awarded around 7 crores only. I'm giving the rough figure. Agreed with the compensation of 7 crores, the complainant approached the Honorable Supreme Court. Even the Air India also approached the Honorable Supreme Court. There was through a cross appeal. So therefore, both the parties before the National Consumer Court were present before the Honorable Supreme Court through cross appeal. These are the facts of the case. Supreme Court almost rejected the claim of the complainant and just granted only the interest part to the complainant, who is the wife of the person who died in the air crash. Not much was given, only the interest part was given, 7 crores plus interest. So now, by giving this decision, Supreme Court created a principle, a couple of principles, in fact I should say, a couple of principles Supreme Court created by rendering this decision, which I am going to share with you right now. Now, before sharing the principles what Supreme Court created in this decision, I should also inform you how the compensation will be calculated. There is a calculation procedure. It is a general calculation procedure. The procedure is like this. Gross salary is taken, and out of that gross salary, personal expenses are deducted. I am giving the rough outline of the calculation here. The gross salary is taken, out of which some percentage, generally it will be 1/5 or 1/4, will be deducted. After that, there will be an addition of the future prospects of the deceased employee. That will be around 30%. There will be a percentage for even for that also. And after that, there will be a multiplier effect. That is approximately based on the age of the person who died, the prospective employment for a particular number of years. Here in the instant case, it was 45 years, he was aged 45 years, therefore a multiplier of 13 was taken. So all these 3 will be considered, and compensation was arrived at around 7 crores. So now coming to the principles of what Supreme Court created in this decision are as follows. Air India prayed for deduction of telephone expenses and travel expenses. But Supreme Court created a principle that gross salary must be taken into consideration. So this is the principle number 1. Now the principle number 2 is Air India even opposed the claim on incentives, the compensation that is to be paid on incentives. The complainant prayed for compensation to be paid on incentives. So Supreme Court created principle number 2 in this decision, that is to say, because incentive is not a regular salary to the employee. It comes only with the performance. So if no evidence is there, if no proper evidence is brought to the court by the legal heirs of the deceased, then the claim on incentive, the compensation on incentive cannot be granted. This is principle number 2 what Supreme Court created. Now one more principle is deduction of personal expenses. What is the principle that is to be adopted for deduction on personal expenses? Supreme Court created that it should be 1/4 and always dependent on the number of dependents. This is the third principle. And the fourth principle is the AirIndia took the view that he was not a permanent employee. Therefore, the benefits and the multiplier effect, the future prospects could not be taken as that was considered by the Honorable National Consumer Court. But Supreme Court rejected that contention and said that he don't need to be a permanent employee to claim compensation. He just need to have a fixed income. He could be a private employee also. The last principle Supreme Court created is the conversion rate, because the deceased, who is the husband of the complainant, was earning in dirhams, which is the unit of currency for United Arab Emirates. So the complainant prayed the Honorable Supreme Court to award compensation on the date of judgment by the National Consumer Court. National Consumer Court rendered the judgment in 2018, and the dirham rate, the currency rate, foreign exchange and the currency rate was higher in 2018. But when it was filed before the National Consumer Court in 2012, it was only 12 rupees 50 paisa per 1 dirham. Therefore, she prayed that it was to be computed on the date of judgment but not on the date of filing the case. Supreme Court created a principle for this by saying that the unit rate on the date of judgment will be taken when the claimant is a foreign party, when the claim is in foreign currency, and when there is repatriation of the funds to the foreign country. Here, the claimant is an Indian. There is no repatriation of the funds, that is, the funds will not go to Dubai, and the claim was also asked in Indian currency. This is an extraordinary decision pertaining to the accident cases and how compensation is computed. There are 5 principles Supreme Court created in this decision. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. If you have any doubts, kindly ask in the comment section.